Hi, everyone. This is Linda from Single Life Today. We are back. I am so happy to be back with Isolation Cocktails with Matt and Rosie. And we've got a scary Halloween theme today. So check us out at singlestravelintl.com. That is our new website for Single Life Today. But we're the same wonderful events that we've had in the past, and super excited to learn how to make these wonderful cocktails. So Matt, I'm going to send it over to you to take it away.
Not a problem. Thank you so much. Hey, everybody. Matt Lakai here from Isolation Cocktails. Of course, I am always joined by the fantastically punctual, beautiful, and talented Rosie Callahan. There are her fingers right there on the screen. So today, we're going to be walking you through some fantastic, not holiday, but it is kind of a holiday, depending on where you're from and how you look at it. But Halloween cocktails. Halloween's coming up. It's a lot of fun in terms of for drinking. A lot of people just kind of go, right into the mixed drinks, the vodka sodas, the beers, whatnot. If you wanted to kind of elevate your party, if you're having a Halloween party after 2 years of a pandemic, roughly, you might be having some folks over. So maybe one of these drinks might come in handy, but they're good for all times of the year. But we'll just jump right into these. Now, in terms of ingredients, we do have a wide assortment because look, Halloween, people are coming together. You never know who's going to like what. So I wanted to make sure to cover our bases. So we will be doing more of a rum tiki style cocktail for one of these. We will be doing a tequila special and as well something a little more down the middle, something not so sweet and something that's got a little bit of Guinness, a little bit of beer, just so again we can cover our beer base as well. So really coming at you with a full fledged of things. Question for you, Rosie, because Rosie's hanging out. Any thinking of anything for Halloween? Any costume ideas that have popped up? Anything that you're thinking of going as?
I don't know. There's so many options, but I think maybe getting like an animal onesie.
An animal onesie?
Then you can use it afterwards. Lion
That's
onesie,
fair.
use it to sleep in afterwards.
No, absolutely.
Double deal.
What about, I've got Jeanette and Linda here. Are there any, are we going out for Halloween? Are we going somewhere for Halloween? Is there any trips going on that are, around the October 30th March?
Janetta, anything?
Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute, my love.
I'll be coming back from New Orleans on the 31st.
Oh, Halloween in New Orleans must be another level. I can't imagine that.
Can't
trip.
even imagine. No, I'm a cat every year.
Yeah.
A cat.
Hey, at least you got a go-to. It's a classic. It's good to have a go-to costume. I think my go-to is a dragon. I've got a dragon onesie, and it's my go-to costume when I fumble the ball and I fumble my time. Well, let's get right into the drinks here because we have our costumes in mind. So now I can imagine. Okay, well, we do have if I'm going to be going as a dragon, I might want to be playing with some fire. So I'm going to teach you a cocktail that you can use a touch of fire in as a kind of a garnish, a bit of a flair towards the end, and it really can just impress your guests. It really makes it look like you know what you're doing. So I'm going to go ahead and just so that we have it in the chat, so if anybody wants to follow along, and this way I can also read it off the screen a little better, I'm going to go ahead and just grab that cocktail list ingredients here, and I'm going to throw it in. So this would be our more of our tiki flair for the night.
Rosie, do you have the fire does Rosie have the fire distinguisher available?
I'm ready with the sprinklers.
Just in case.
So this cocktail, folks, is going to be using two different styles of rum. Now, look, when it comes to rum, I like doing a white and a dark, or a spice and a white. As long as they're two slightly different rums, you're going to get two slightly different flavors there, and you're going to want to build it the way you'd like to. So if you have two favorite rums, mine happen to be white in general and a Jamaican spice. So I'm going to be using Appleton Estate for this cocktail, as well as just a Captain Morgan's white. But the name of this cocktail is the Voodoo Cocktail. And now this cocktail was created back in 2007 by bartender and sculptor Alex Camerling of London, England. Now, the base of this cocktail is kind of like a rum Manhattan meets a rum runner with the addition of lime and apple juice. It's a kind of a different, it's a cocktail of both worlds. We're bringing kind of what voodoo is. It's something that's you're kind of grabbing at things. When I think voodoo, I think the voodoo dolls with the stitching through. I don't know. I guess that's what I don't know. Is there anything else?
That is a voodoo.
That is what voodoo. Okay, fair enough. But we're going to be using some of those elements from that kind of rum Manhattan and lengthening them with juices, which can be really nice. Also, if you happen to have it, this is a great time because, you know, a lot of time we have tiki mugs in the house and we only use them during the summer. So it's always nice to find a good excuse. If you're going to have a tiki cocktail, might as well throw it in a tiki mug. So feel free to grab, if you have one, a tiki mug, and we'll get right into this beautiful cocktail. So I'm using a beautiful tiki mug that I'm going to be using crushed ice into. Now, you don't need to use crushed ice for this cocktail. It's totally up to you. But if you do want to do crushed ice, my suggestion always is you can find them on Amazon or you can go to your local grocery store. Get yourself a Lewis bag. I'm going to show it off right here. It's just kind of like a burlap sack. It's waterproof, which is nice. And what you get to do is you get to put ice in here and then you just get to smash it with your hammer. I'll tell you right now, as a bartender, I will do this at home, but it pains me to do it at the bar because it takes a lot of time up. And it's just one of those things where you got to make a lot of noise and everyone's looking at you. And then they go, oh, he's making a lot of noise. I want that drink too. And then it takes even more time. It takes more crushing ice. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy in a way. So I will crush ice towards the end, but make sure to chill down your glassware, throw it in the fridge, do whatever you need to do to get that glass nice and cold. But let's go ahead and start on this cocktail. So we're going to go ahead and take our cocktail shaker and fill that up with some ice. I'm going to just grab some ice from the fridge. There we go. And I like to build on the small side of my shaker. Now, not everyone does. At the end of the day, it's a preference thing. But make sure you give a good amount of ice, good 3 or 4 ice cubes there. And we'll start off with our rums. So I'm going to start off with a white rum here. I'm going to be doing just a quick 2 ounce of white rum. Good old white rum, sugarcane rum. Nothing too special about it. If you really wanted to go the extra mile, I would grab something like a Havana Club, which is a beautiful, beautiful, the rum. It's probably my favorite white rum. I feel like it has the most, it's got that sugary punch, but it has a little bit of that funk from being out there. Next up is going to be, if you wanted to, you could do a dark rum for the Voodoo. It's up to you. So I have the Appleton Estate here just in case if I wanted to switch it up. All right, now we did go talk about the Manhattan. Classic for the Manhattan is going to be your sweet vermouth. So go ahead and grab that beautiful sweet vermouth. And we're going to do 3/4 of an ounce here. 3/4 of an ounce of our sweet vermouth. Just like that. Now, of course, we want to be kind of touching on the juices. We were kind of combining a Manhattan and a rum runner, but we got to get some juices in there. So we are going to be playing with some apple. So go ahead and grab some apple juice, which I'm just going to grab from my fridge, just like that. And let's do about 2.5 ounces. I would say we want a little bit of juice in this cocktail, just because if we don't, it's going to be really, really bitey. It's going to be really strong. But we definitely want to lengthen this out with the juice. And of course, combined with our apple juice, we will also top it off with a little bit of lime, just to give it a little bit of balance. We do want to get that nice citrus bite in there. So if you're squeezing a lime, it'll be half a lime squeezed or about half an ounce worth of lime juice. All righty. Now, this is a bit of an optional piece here. If you wanted to get this cocktail a little bit away from the bitterness of that kind of lime, kind of like that bite, the sweet vermouth is sweet, but you still have that kind of vermouthiness to it. You could use a touch of simple syrup here. I'm actually going to veto the simple syrup and go with agave syrup and go with about a 1/4 ounce worth of agave syrup. Just give me, I like a sweet cocktail, okay? Sue me, I'm a sugar guy. I love me a sugary cocktail. I'm actually a Diet Coke fiend. It's actually my biggest vice in life probably right now is I love me a good aspartame Diet Coke. So it's always nice to have a little bit of sweetness. But I'm going to go ahead and shake this cocktail right up. Of course, about 25, 30-second shake until I get a nice frosted cocktail shake. And if you're ever worried about your shaking technique, now look, you can shake it in a lot of different ways. As long as you're shaking it vigorous, you're doing a great job. But I recently was talking to a bartender, and he had a really great analogy or a really great kind of story, or I guess example, on how to shake. And it was red light, green light. If you can imagine a traffic light, one that goes vertical. If you hit the red light and then the green light, and you go red light, green light, and you just speed that up, you'll get a decent shake. You'll get a nice solid shake. I thought that was really, really nice. He was teaching a young bartender, and I thought that was a really great little piece of knowledge. So I will go on mute really quickly here because I do need to make a ton of noise by smashing my ice with this mallet. So I won't make you suffer through that. It'll just take me about 15 seconds. I'm just gonna grab some ice. All right, Rosie, go ahead and mute that microphone.
It's hilarious. It's like watching an old-fashioned movie.
Funny, that's what Rosie was saying. It was like kind of like pantomime, like Charlie Chaplin as. That was really funny. So in terms of consistency in your pebble ice, your crushed ice, you're looking for something that's, I don't know if you can really tell here, but we're looking for something that's about a marble size. Nothing too small. We don't want it to be like dust or like a snow cone, which I'm going to say I probably over crushed my ice here. Now I know some like fancy ice makers have crushed ice settings, or even fridges have it, but you want to fill that right up to the top.
What is that special pouch you have? Let's get a commercial for it.
So this is what we call a Lewis bag. It's written right on there, Lewis ice bag. And it's just a burlap sack almost. It's made of a nice water-resistant material. It doesn't leak through, doesn't puncture too easy. I've had mine for probably over a year and had no issues with it. And it comes with a mallet. So that was kind of nice.
Yeah.
And then since we're doing this over crushed ice, you can strain this cocktail out if you want to, but you could just kind of dump it right over. But I'm going to go ahead and fill this right up. Now, for those who are watching, if anyone's like, oh, well, what's the difference between crushed ice and regular ice? Why do tiki cocktails go over crushed ice? Well, let me tell you, tiki cocktails, notorious for being way boozier than any other cocktail category. They love overtopping it with rum. But what's nice with the crushed ice is we get more and more dilution as we drink. The crushed ice will melt quicker than a solid brick of ice or a large cube. So this way we get a little bit more of the dilution, which means that the cocktail is going to hit us a little less hard. You can have a couple more, you spend a bit more money. It all comes down to money in one way or another. Yeah. So that's a big reason for it. Also, the texture is kind of nice. I enjoy a nice crushed ice from time to time. In terms of a garnish, let's play with some fire. Rosie is on standby. But you will need some kind of lighter. I like to use my barbecue lighter just because it's got a nice length away from me. When I use a lighter, like a hand lighter, I end up burning my fingers a lot more often than I like to admit. What you're going to want to do is grab some ground cinnamon. You don't need a ton. You need just a pinch of it. The rest of what we're going to garnish the top of our cocktail with. So all we're going to do here is we're going to just pinch some cinnamon. We're going to light up our barbecue lighters. And then over the flame, we're going to slowly drizzle that cinnamon. And we should get a nice spark show. Just like that. We got some nice flames that go over. I'll do it one more time just so we can see it. There we go.
That's so cool.
There we go. We got a nice little burnt cinnamon kind of smell in the room, which is really nice. And again, with a cocktail with the name Voodoo, you want something with a little bit of fire, a little bit of magic around it. Just make sure to get it in the glass. Make sure that flame is over the glass, of course. And you will get that nice kind of burnt cinnamon smell, which is really going to just help push this cocktail to, like, if you have people in the other room, they're going to go, oh, what are you cooking? And then you get to give them alcohol. It's a great surprise. But folks, there it is. There is the Voodoo Cocktail. If you're on the other side, cheers. Regardless of what you have in your hands, cheers. Oh, that is good. That is sweet. That is rum lace. Oh, the cinnamon just kicks it up another notch. It absolutely brings this cocktail alive in the mouth. It jumps around, mixes so well with that apple and cinnamon. Great combination of flavors right there. And what the other thing I get here, of course, is a little bit of that dilution. The rum, honestly, don't really taste the alcohol in this one, which is crazy because we have close to 3 ounces worth of alcohol in here with our 2 ounces of rum and our almost full ounce of sweet vermouth. Rosie, you want to give this one a try? Want to give the Voodoo a taste?
I'd love to give it a whirl. Oh, I love cinnamon. Oh,
Right.
yes, that's very nice. And just a hint of that alcohol taste, just enough, you know?
Yeah, it's really a cinnamon apple cocktail in its kind of prime, which is crazy thing because there's not a ton of those out there. When you think of cinnamon apple, I think of pies, I think of cakes, I think of a lot of pastries. I think of good times is what I think of. So if you're looking for something to have this Halloween, even maybe you could push this cocktail into that Thanksgiving window, depending on what you're having for that Thanksgiving. But this is definitely a winner in my books. And I can't wait to have it with my dinner after this. All right, folks, that is one and done so far. We've got 2 more really great Halloween cocktails to go. Question for those in the room. Any favorite Halloween movies? Like, are there any go-to movies that you watch every Halloween without question?
No. I do not like
No.
scare. I don't like to be scared.
Chainsaw Massacre. I
No.
don't know, Chainsaw.
Fair enough. I'm not a big scary movie person myself. I really am not. I would say out of anything scary that I've watched that I feel like I watch religiously, and it's not even like, it's not scary. Maybe it used to be when I was a kid, and it's not even a Halloween movie. It's a Christmas movie, but it's The Nightmare Before Christmas, which is
It's both.
It's both.
Yeah.
Who's to say
Right.
what camp it lives in?
That's right.
Rosie, do you have a favorite like Halloween movie or a movie that jumps to mind that's like more of a horror-esque?
Too many to name.
Too many to name. Name me one.
I'm taking up all of the horror love of this group of people.
Yes, you are.
The Others is very good because by the end you're not scared, you're just impressed. So
The
I'll leave
Others.
that.
All right. The Others is getting the big request. Maybe we haven't watched that together.
Let's do
Well,
it.
I guess we got to do that this Halloween. We'll dress in our onesies, the dragon and the animals of your choice, and we'll watch The Others. All righty, folks. I'm going to grab our next cocktail, which is actually named after a very famous horror franchise. So it's a pretty good segue that I built for myself, which I, come up with these segues on the fly. You're a pretty talented guy. All right. So here is our next cocktail there in the chat. For those who can't see the chat, of course, we're going to be rocking some kind of amber or dark rum, a cold brew coffee. Now, you can either do cold brew coffee, you can do cold espresso, you can buy something from the store that is coffee-esque and cold, maple syrup and orange zest. And this cocktail is known as the NightCap on Elm Street. Of course, named after the Nightmare on Elm Street series, which is, super famous. But a nightcap is really what this cocktail is truly known as. And look, nightcaps have been around since the 1800s. Were they always alcoholic? Absolutely not. Sometimes they were, sometimes they weren't. If for children, it's a warm glass of milk. For adults, a warm glass of brandy or cognac was often used as a nightcap just to get you off and ready to go to sleep. But this version kind of takes that idea and kind of flips it on its head a little bit. This isn't a warm cocktail, it is a cold cocktail. So this cocktail was created by Daniel Moyet of the Yours Truly bar in Hamilton, Bermuda. And this cocktail is supposed to be a kind of an ode or a tribute to the rum and tonic section of cocktails, which let me tell you, there aren't a lot of rum and tonic cocktails. Tonic is kind of the, I guess in a horror series way, is that like the orphan that we don't really talk about that lives in the attic, that like, that there's like a Treehouse of Horror from The Simpsons where he has like a brother in the attic. Yeah, that's tonic. We always play with soda, but we don't really play with tonic. Tonic just doesn't get a ton of love in cocktails, not as much as it should anyways, in my opinion. But a rum and tonic is kind of like the way those flavors combine. They're kind of like two friends. When you have two, when you see two people, you're like, wow, I don't understand how those two people can be friends. And then you hang out with them one time, you're like, oh no, I totally understand why those two are friends. That's kind of like what rum and tonic is, because once you have a rum and tonic, there's really no going back to the gin. I really do enjoy a good rum and tonic. So let's play with that. So I'm going to hop back in here. There we go. All right. So for this cocktail, I'm going to pay my own tribute to the hot cocktail origins of the NightCap and use a hot toddy mug for this cold cocktail. I think that's a little fun, and it'll look really nice, I think, by the end of it. So I'm going to just make sure to chill down my glassware, of course. So I'm just going to throw in a little bit of cold water, some ice. I'm going to set that aside. Can't wait to do holiday cocktails with you. We're going to do some warm cocktails. Honestly, warm cocktails, they don't get enough love. I love me a good hot buttered rum or a hot toddy. Those kind of classic, kind of make your stomach feel nice and warm. You can go to bed. It's a good time. This will get you to bed in a different way. We'll get there. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and fill up my cocktail shaker here with a little bit of ice. And I'm actually going to switch over to my Appleton Estate. I'm going to switch over to my Jamaican rum, which unfortunately, the way people describe Jamaican rums, they use the word funk. It has some funk to it, which I don't find it an offensive term. I just find it a terribly uninformative term. What is funk? What does that even mean? And it means different things to different people. I think it's just because it has such an undescribable taste to it, and you can't really pin it on like cinnamon or cloves or allspice. There's a funk to it. It's a Jamaican funk. So I'm using a Jamaican funky rum. I'm going to use 2 ounces of my Appleton Estate, or of course you could do a dark rum like a Gosling's Dark Seal would be great, or like a Kraken, which is another spiced dark rum. You can really play with this. Use your favorite rums at the end of the day. All right, 2 ounces. Next up is some cold brew coffee. Now, I was having a hard time finding cold brew, so I got myself a nice Starbucks cold brew from the store. So you can find cold brew in a lot of different things these days. But this is kind of like the reason why cold brew goes into this cocktail, because although a NightCap is supposed to put you to sleep, this is a let's keep the party going kind of cocktail.
Ooh,
This is
okay.
we are not ready to cap the night. This is a cocktail I would make for someone if it was 3 a.m. and they said, hey, I'm ready to party for 3 more hours. This is the one I'm going for. So I've got my cold brew coffee in there, about 2 ounces worth. So a good amount of coffee there. And we're going to be playing with my favorite sugaring agent on the planet, as I am Canadian, the good old maple syrup. Maple syrup is by far the far superior sugar on the planet, and in my humble opinion. And I'm doing half an ounce of the golden nectar itself. I'm doing half an ounce of that. You could play with it if you want it to be a little sweeter. If you like a nice sweet coffee, go a little heavier, but I think half an ounce is more than enough sweetness from that maple syrup. What's fun about this is we get to use a tool that doesn't come out often, not the orange, but the grater. This calls for a grating of orange zest in the cocktail. And what's nice about that is we're going to get all those essential oils from the peel. We're going to get right into this cocktail. So I am just grating up just a touch of this. I'm going to make sure that I don't grate my hand off. And I'm just going to grate this. And what's going to happen is it's not going to really fall into the cocktail. The orange peel is actually going to stick to my grater. And that's kind of what I want. Because once I get this nice and grated, here we go. And you're going to see it right here. I'm going to get all that orange zest right there. And I'm just going to take my spoon and I'm just going to put that in the cocktail. Now, you don't need a ton of this. You can really play with it as you make this cocktail over and over again. Because let me tell you, once you make it once, you're going to make it again. So this way you can go, oh, I want more orange. I want less orange. You can kind of play with it. I'm not super high on the orange. I do enjoy it. It's a good component. It gives us a nice little citrusy kind of flavoring, but I don't like too much of it. Alrighty, and then finally, just for a touch of color and a touch of complexity, I'm going to grab my Angostura bitters. And of course, Angostura is flavored with what? Cinnamon and clove. So that's going to be the flavor I get from this. And I'm going to go ahead and do 2 or 3 dashes. Pop that right in. And I'll go ahead and close it up. Of course, we're not going to be shaking that tonic water we spoke of before. Because, that would be a bad time to shake that kind of bubbly kind of thing. So I'm just going to go ahead and shake this up real quick. Good shake. There it is. All righty. I'm going to grab our beautiful hot toddy mug, and I'm going to get rid of the water that's accumulated in it. Grab a couple more ice cubes. Fill that up a little bit. That's nice. And we'll get this strained right over. And it's going to come out, this beautiful, almost milky looking thing. It looks gorgeous on its own, but we are going to make sure to leave some room here. So we do want to top this off with our tonic water. Now, big difference between tonic water and soda water. Soda water has no sugar to it. Tonic does. Tonic does have a bit of a taste. And I think it's why people aren't a huge fan of it. Because it's its own thing. It's its own flavor. And it's a weird one for a lot of people. But I'm going to go ahead and just slowly fill this up. And you'll see my glass has really started to rise, and almost like there's a foam, almost like an espresso style foam, which is such a cool reaction to coffee and tonic. It's not something that we often see. It's actually going to almost cause there to be, like, I can scoop this. This is a dense foam that is being created. It's almost like an espresso, like a cappuccino foam. It's really incredible and feels amazing on the mouth. And I can almost get this to flow right over, and it doesn't fall off. And look at that. That almost looks like a milkshake. That's so good. All right. And speaking of milkshake, for this, you could garnish this with maybe an orange slice. Not an orange slice, an orange zest, like a peel. But I'm going to leave it as is because I think it looks really, really nice. And I am going to grab myself a straw because I think it deserves a straw. But if you wanted to, you can dive right in with that kind of mouthfeel on the foam. But here it is, folks. I'll bring it up. Look at that. It looks almost like an alcoholic milkshake. But there you have it. This is the NightCap on Elm Street, or the NightCap Halloween edition. Cheers. Oh, that is too good. It has got such a beautiful combination of just enough orange that it tickles my tongue with that kind of sweetness of the rum and the maple. And it just floats so easy on the top. I'm going to get it with the foam. I want to taste that foam. The foam is so dense. It's almost, you're not going to chew it, but it definitely lathers the mouth in this luxurious foam. Rosie, you got to give this a taste.
Does it have a coffee flavor to it? I love coffee.
You know what? It kind of does have a touch of coffee. Yeah, for sure. Like, of course, we put 2 ounces of that cold brew, right? So it has that beautiful bit of coffee, kind of like almost tricks your brain into thinking chocolate and coffee together. And then you have that touch of orange. Now, of course, the chocolate notes are coming from that sweetness from our rum. So yeah, this is a beautiful, beautiful trick on the brain kind of cocktail that I think will have you partying well into the night if you are, looking for something to keep the party going at 3 a.m. on Halloween.
Or at 9 p.m. if you're me.
Fair enough. Whatever time you need to get a kick in the pants to keep going, you need to rally, a rally cocktail. This is it right here. Cool. All righty, folks. Well, that takes us to our last cocktail of the evening, which is for my beer drinkers. If there are, any of you out there when you watch this, if you're feeling like cocktails are not for you, let me tell you, beer has its place in the world of cocktails. It's few, it's seldom at times, but they're definitely out there. You just have to look a little harder. And there's some beautiful, beautiful cocktails that you can make with some of your favorite beers. And one of the ones I'm going to show you right now is made with one of the favorites, the good old heart,
Guinness.
of course, the Guinness. Has anybody here, actually, just because you're both here, has anyone visited the Guinness brewery out in Ireland?
Ireland,
no,
yes.
have not. I've been to
Yes.
Ireland, but not the plant.
Yes, I have.
Oh, how was it?
It was wonderful. It was like 20 years ago, but it was wonderful.
I mean, I know you don't drink now, but did you happen to have any Guinness when you were there?
No, well,
Okay.
no,
No, fair enough. But I'm so glad that you went because it is such
yes.
a institution and is so important to. I wouldn't say it's important to the culture, but it's such a what's the word I'm looking for? Not trademark, but it's like a beacon of light from that area of the world that they get to share with everyone. What's the word I'm looking for here, Rosie?
I don't know.
No, well, that's what I mean. Whatever the word is, that's the meaning I'm trying to get across. Is that it is important. So let me show you a cocktail we can do with some Guinness. And what's nice is then you also have a Guinness left over. So this is also a cocktail where if you're like, oh, I've got half a beer left and I don't really want to drink the beer, but you can throw it into a fantastic cocktail for yourself or somebody else. So it can be a fun sharing thing, you know. Let me just go ahead and grab that fantastic recipe, which I have right here. Now, this is a combination of a couple of cocktails and my own creation a little bit. I fell in love with this cocktail when I learned about it through a cocktail called the Saint Casa, as well as Disney Resorts actually has a cocktail that is based around this recipe. So I've kind of taken both of those worlds and smashed them together and called this cocktail the Darkest Night. So this cocktail is going to be a dark flavoring of blackberry, raspberry, our Guinness flavoring, and agave tequila. So if you are a tequila lover, this cocktail is definitely for you. For glassware, I'm going to be going ahead and doing a rocks glass for this. That's going to be my go-to right now. You can do this in any kind of cocktail, though. I think a rocks glass, though, since we're using a beer, you want something with a little bit of girth. You don't want something too dainty, like a Coupe glass or a Nick and Nora. You want something that's going to hold. It's a voluminous cocktail. There's a lot of volume to this cocktail. So you want to make sure that we got a nice glass for it. But, of course, whatever glass you're doing, make sure to throw in a couple of ice cubes, chill that down, throw it in the fridge, do what you got to do. Get that glass nice and cold because we're putting cold beer in. Got to make sure it's cold. Alrighty. Cocktail shakers out, ice in, and we'll do our last cocktail of the evening and the last. I mean, look, if you're getting through these first two and you get to this third one and the night of Halloween drinking, you're having a great Halloween night. Let me tell you, it's a good time for everyone. Alrighty, so I'm going to be starting off with 100% agave tequila, which is any good quality tequila should have 100% agave. You can notice it right here at the bottom. Should say 100% agave. If you are getting any tequila off the shelf that does not say 100% agave, it is not worth your money. Honestly, it is. That means that it's not full agave plant. It means that it's been blended with something else. And a lot of those times, those tequilas will not be the 4 designations of tequila, which are Blanco, Reposado, Añejo, and Extra Añejo. It'll be called something like Gold or Silver. The only people that do silver that is 100% agave is Patron. They do their own thing. But if you are doing any tequila that is called just a gold tequila, it's not 100% agave. I guarantee it. So don't waste your money on that stuff. Add a couple bucks to the checkout, and you'll get a good quality product. Just a little knowledge for you because I had to learn that myself because I wasn't a big tequila drinker before the pandemic, and now it's probably up there in one of my favorites, which is kind of crazy. And it's kind of Rosie's fault. All right, so
I take responsibility.
So we're starting off with 1.5 ounces here, folks. 1.5 ounces of our Blanco tequila. Now you could do this cocktail with any tequila. Like I was pooping on the bad stuff. But if you really wanted to, you absolutely could do this with any tequila you want. But if you really want that solid agave flavor, you can't go wrong with 100%. Next up, we're doing one of my favorite liqueurs on the market that people get for Christmas very often, and then it sits on the shelf and they have no idea what to do with it. So I love breaking it out. That would be Chambord. Chambord is a blackberry, raspberry liqueur. that is so beautifully sweet and really it adds a beautiful color to anything you put it in. We're going to be doing half an ounce here. You don't need more than that because it is powerful stuff. It really does shine through with whatever you put in there. Now, if you don't have Chambord, or you're like, you know what, I really don't want to buy Chambord for this one cocktail. Well, first, I encourage you to look at lots of other Chambord cocktails out there because it's worth the price. But you could just muddle up some blackberry and raspberries in here, and you would get the kind of flavor. I would up the tequila a little bit just so we get a bit more of an alcoholic punch because there is alcohol in here. But this way, you know, we're still got Guinness to top. So, like, don't worry on the alcohol front. You're getting your alcohol. Next up, following the agave train, I'm going to be doing just 1/4 ounce of sweetness of agave syrup. You could do a honey syrup if you wanted to make a honey syrup. I just think with tequila, you can't go wrong with agave syrup. It just fits so well together, but nothing wrong with a nice natural honey as well. And then that is all you need for this cocktail, folks. There really isn't much more to that other than our Guinness at the end. So I like a good simple cocktail. Cocktails don't have to be complicated. That's the whole point of this class, is that you can just grab a couple of ingredients and really go pretty far with them. So I'm gonna give this a quick shake. Alrighty, that is that. And if you're like me and sometimes your tins get stuck, they get kind of frozen together, you're like, what do I do? Really simple trick. You're just going to pinch the sides. It might be tough, you might have to use both hands, but then it should wriggle free pretty easily. A lot of times you might see bartenders smack it, and that's another way of doing it. But you know, if you're like me and your hands are starting to go and you know, this, that, and the other thing, a nice strong pinch will usually do the trick. And I'm gonna go ahead and grab our beautiful cocktail glass, and I'm gonna get a nice king cube, a nice solid cube for this. If I have any left, I do. I'm gonna get a nice big cube in here. I always like a nice big cube for rocks glasses. They always look really nice. And this should come out, ooh, that's a gorgeous kind of light purple color. And we're gonna leave it about halfway filled. We've got to get the darkest night portion of this cocktail in there, which is our beautiful Guinness. Now, if you're getting Guinness out of the can, first be careful because I obviously wasn't, and now it's fizzing everywhere. So I get a nice treat. There we go. And just be careful with Guinness cans. They can get a little foamy. When pouring a Guinness can, there is a method. It's not like a normal beer. Of course, we know it's a stout. We want to go ahead and pour it pretty much right over top. So you want to pour it out as quickly as you can and drop it this way. This way we start getting that beautiful foam on top. If I had a nice large pint glass, I would flip the whole thing over in the pint glass and let it pour. This way we get that nice, strong, white, iconic foam out of the can. And I'm actually getting it a little bit here. It's hard to see, but you can see that beautiful bit of Guinness foam right on top because of the way we poured the can out. Now, to get this to the darkest night proportions, because as you can see, maybe you can't, or I think you can, you'll see I'm getting a division between my Guinness and my cocktail. So to cure that, we're just going to take the back of a bar spoon and lightly stir this together. This usually is done with beer in general. Beer is quite light in terms of a liquid, just because it's carbonated as well. So it usually sits on top. So you definitely want to give this a nice, easy going stir for about 20 seconds, maybe less. You don't really need to overwork it. But as long as it all gets together and looks beautiful and amalgamated together, we still keep that beautiful white froth on top. You get that beautiful one color look of the darkest night. You could garnish this with some blackberries if you wanted to, especially if you muddled blackberries and raspberries in there instead of the Chambord. But I also think it looks heck beautiful by itself because it really does truly kind of, it almost looks like a mini Guinness in my hand in a lot of ways. But folks, here it is, the darkest night. Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, that comes
Wow.
in waves. That comes in waves in terms of flavor. You get that first little touch of raspberry, blackberry on the tongue with that Guinness foam, just really nice on the tongue. And then the tequila comes in the back, and you're left with this beautiful agave flavor that's mixing so well with the berries. Rosie, you gotta, you're Irish.
Oh.
You gotta try this.
I
You
do
do.
meet the requirements.
You
yes.
do meet the requirements. Give it a nice sip.
Matt,
Oh,
what
yes.
do you guys do with these cocktails that you made tonight?
Oh, these three right here.
Yeah.
These go with dinner. Right.
Ah.
There you go.
They're a good time with dinner always. It's one of our kind of favorite things to do is at the end of the class, kind of go, well, which ones do we love? How would we change this? It's a good, nice conversation over dinner, which is nice as well. But these are the 3 Halloween cocktails to get you going for the night. Let me just quickly go over them again. We had the Voodoo Cocktail with a little bit of that fire magic with the cinnamon. We had our ode to the 1800s with the NightCap on Elm Street, and then a bit of my own creation and a bit of a steal from the Saint Casa cocktail as well, the Darkest Night. I just want to thank Single Life Today and Single Life Travel for having us Isolation Cocktails with you again. Make sure to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure to check them out on Instagram and their website. And we can't wait to come back. I think in November, we'll be doing some Thanksgiving themed cocktails.
Yes.
Have a great rest of your evening. And I'll pass it back to you, Linda.
Fantastic. Thank you, Matt and Rosie from Isolation Cocktails. I enjoy this. This is like the highlight of my month. I'm visiting friends. I'm going to make the first drink. What was the name of that? Voodoo, the Voodoo Cocktail. Yes. So for those of you watching, please join us for free at singlestravelintl.com. We've got all kinds of events. We've got travels deals going on. So come join us. And Matt and Rosie, again, thank you so much and happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Thank you,
All
Matt.
right. Bye,
Bye.
everyone. Thanks.